The Toyota Matrix has always been a childhood hero of mine amongst many of the other cars of this era. I've seen so many Matrixes in my lifetime, but I've only seen a few of this special breed of Matrix. Today we have been bequeathed with the opportunity on this frigid day to take a look at one of Toyota's hot hatches of the 2000s, the Toyota Matrix XRS. When the Matrix was first introduced, it was marketed as a sporty, compact hatchback version of the Toyota Corolla of this same vintage. And the Matrix went, well, at least the first gen, went from 2003 all the way to 2008. I was actually surprised it went to 08. This was also still about the era that GM and Toyota were in cahoots. And even though this is based on a Corolla, it also shares a platform with something mechanically identical to this, the Pontiac Vibe. Even though they are pretty similar cars, two completely different stories. The Matrix was only sold in North America, so the US and Canada, and these were built in Toyota's Cambridge, Ontario plant in Canada. However, the Pontiac Vibe was built in Toyota's NUMMI plant in California, where the Tacomas and Corollas of the 80s and 90s were built as well. The Vibe, even though it was a Pontiac, an American brand, Toyota used that car and shipped it off to Japan and exported it as the Toyota Volts, which was their Matrix. They didn't get the Matrix in Japan. The Matrix did go through two generations, this one being the first gen and of course the second gen, which came after it. But due to diminishing sales, the Matrix unfortunately was killed off in the US after the 2013 model year and in Canada after the 2014 model year. But if you want to kind of connect the dots to nowadays, the Corolla IM and also the Scion IM, and now it's just the Toyota Corolla hatchback, you could say this was the predecessor. So this Matrix in particular belongs to my friend Michael. It's a 2004 Matrix XRS, of course with the 6-speed manual and the wonderful Yamaha tuned engine, and it's painted in Toyota's OEM Cosmic Blue Metallic. It really fits this car well, and it's been blessed with some 2000s bling bling from Toyota with the gold emblems. The Matrix was available in 3 different trim levels in 2004. You could get the base Matrix, which I'm sure you see tons of them. You could also get the Matrix XR. Every time I see an XR on the road, I think it's the top shebang, the Matrix XRS. The MSRP of a Matrix XRS back in 2004 was actually about $18,750. Not too bad. We don't get fun, cheap cars like that anymore. In terms of Matrixes, or Matrix, you could get 2 different engine options, both 1.8 liters. Base and XR got a normal 1.8, while this one got something that the kids like, and I like as well. And that's why we're gonna be talking about the Yamaha engine. Now this is the reason why both the Matrix XRS and the Vibe GT are such a hot commodity nowadays, and also when they were new. It's this 1.8 liter dual overhead cam inline 4-cylinder, and it's paired with Toyota's variable valve timing system with lift. So you could say it's kind of Toyota's version of VTEC in a way, but all of that gives this engine an output of about 180 horsepower and 130 pound-feet of torque. And all of that gets this 2,800 pound dart to 60 miles an hour in a hair over 7.5 seconds, with a quarter-mile time of about 16 seconds at 85 miles an hour. In terms of MPGs, I really wouldn't care too much, but Toyota claimed 22 in the city, 29 on the highway, and a combined rating of 24. Those are great numbers for something that's this sprightly. Power exclusively runs through a 6-speed manual transmission in years after 04, so from 04 to 06, but actually, I learned just now the 2003 Matrix XRX could get an automatic transmission. I also learned when I was doing my research that you could find this 2ZZ in not only the Matrix XRS, but you could find it in the Celica GTS of this time, and also both the Lotus Exige and the Lotus Elise of this time as well. Those cars could also be supercharged, but that is technically a different version of this engine. Now, even though both the Matrix and the normal Corolla of this vintage share similar platforms, this is actually pretty different in size. However, they do share the same wheelbase. As for wheel options, you could get your XRS with either a 16-inch alloy wheel, which was an upgrade, or you could get these 17-inch alloy wheels, which is a big upgrade. They really look nice, and I'm sure it handles pretty nice with them as well. Alongside being very fun to drive, the Matrix XRS is very practical as well. One of my favorite things about this, and I didn't really know this until today, the rear glass opens. If I get the key out of my pocket, you can actually push and hold the button on the key itself that says hatch, or you can twist this over here, and then the hatch will open. It's very shocking. Shocking. You can stick long things in here. If you go skiing, you could do that and stick things through here. I'm sure they even make a mod that you could let this thing stay open while you're on short drives. But you can also open the trunk normally as well, which reveals about 24 cubic feet of volume. Actually a very reasonable amount of space. There's also a bunch of bag hooks in here as well, on the sides, on the lower half, and also the topper half. This also has a spare tire as well, because manufacturers back in the day actually thought about people servicing their cars themselves instead of having to call and wait, so you actually have a spare tire in your performance car. But if you fold the 60-40 split seat down, you get about 51.8 cubic feet of volume. Actually pretty big in here for a little car. And Toyota does not recommend you to tow with your Matrix, unlike the Toyota Previa, which, check out that video up here. Now, as we hop inside this sprightly little hatchback, it's so nice to be outside of away from the wind. But welcome to the interior of the Matrix XRS, at least the back seat. It's actually not too bad back here. The driver's seat is a little bit farther back than how I sit, and I'm 5'9". I actually have some leg room, and I can fit my feet under the seats. I'm actually surprised it's more roomy than I thought back here. Headroom, because this has 3 inches more headroom than a normal Corolla sedan. Headroom is great too, even if I'd say 6-foot people could fit back here in a bit of a pinch. There's no armrest in the center. There also aren't air vents back here, but of course I wouldn't expect it at a car of this price point. It's actually pretty decent back here though. There is an ashtray for the children. Oh, this isn't an ashtray. Oh, nice. There's cup holders back here. It's funny, I thought this was an ashtray for the children to smoke. Also, in terms of material quality, things are actually pretty solid back here. Of course, you're not going to find supple materials like in a Lexus. Also, since I'm back here, this passenger side seat, well, the front passenger side seat can fold flat, and that's why this thing is here, because Toyota calls it a bit of a table. If you pull these 2 levers here, this folds flat. A lot of cars back then seemed to do that, but it makes it nice. You could actually eat lunch back here if you wanted to. Now that we're in the driver's seat, that means we are one step closer to driving the XRS. But before that, let's see the keys. This is the key for these, not 90s, but early 2000s and 90s Toyotas. This is the same key my Tacoma had. And of course, the key fob over here. I love these 2000s Toyota key fobs. But because this doesn't have any push button start nonsense or smart key nonsense, and this has a manual transmission, the Lord's transmission, all you have to do is put your foot on the clutch, really, but clutch and brake. Make sure you're in neutral, and let's go. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Toyota.
And it does that. Now welcome to the front seat of the Matrix XRS. Thankfully, I like this generation of Toyota. That's why I just like this era of car in general. The interior is way more simple than anything that's out nowadays. First of all, you have this really nice 3-spoke wheel that you can find on the XRS. It has red stitching on it. Let's listen to the horn. A nice sounding horn, a good little horn. And behind the steering wheel, you'll see the headlight controls. Those are not automatic, and the wipers are not automatic as well. But you do have a rear wiper because this is a hatchback. I love rear wipers. As we look at the rest of the interior, just like the back seat, it's actually pretty decent as well. Soft touch materials on the top of the driver's door card. It's actually not too bad. The dash feels nice. As we look at the gauges though, I quite like them. They're very sporty and pretty easy to read. There's not too much going on. You just have a tachometer with an 8100 RPM red line. You can also see the 150 mile an hour speedometer. You also have a fuel gauge and a coolant temperature gauge as well. Pretty simple, but all the things that you need. This is funny, the trunk switch and also the little coin holder on the left reminds me of Michael's IS300. It has that same thing right here.
Oh, really?
That's funny, yeah. And then also you can see the mirror controls on the left and also the dimmer switch for the dome lights. I found this interesting, and maybe that's one of the little GM things in here. As we look at the center of the car, this one, because it's an 04, would have a GM head unit in it, but thankfully this one does not have that in it, and it has a Toto, I think it's what, the A6 or A5?
It's the A6PF.
A6PF. I had one of these in one of my old cars, and it's nice. It does Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, but it's a pretty decent head unit. But this isn't a tech channel, so we won't be talking about it too much. However, I will say this is nice. It has a backup camera. There you go. And it has guidance lines as well. Also in the Matrix, when you're in reverse, this is how you know you're in reverse. The lockout's interesting too. It took me a little bit to get used to it, but now, damn, that was first. There we go. Now almost every time I get it into reverse. Below the head unit, you can see you have single zone climate control. Very nice to use, very direct. You don't have to worry about screens glitching or anything to adjust your climate. That's nice. Underneath that is a bit of a power station. There's also this button that turns on this 2-prong power outlet, which I was very surprised to see. Down below that, you could see the shifter for the 6-speed manual transmission. The throws are nice and tight. It's different than Honda shifters. Honda shifters are kind of buttery. This has a bit of a notchier feeling, but you can see this one has a different shift knob as well. And underneath the shifter, there is another storage compartment, which is not an ashtray. I don't see any ashtrays or cigarette lighters in this car, so they don't want you to smoke in this. The handbrake is in the middle as well, and there's a nice armrest that isn't too soft touch, and there is a bit of storage. It actually goes pretty far down. It's interesting, the front seats actually aren't as comfortable as the rear seats. I would expect the XRS to have a bit of a more aggressive seat, but it's still not too bad. These seats aren't uncomfortable. I also find the texture of them to be pretty interesting. They're cloth and both manual as well. The driver's seat offers a pretty decent range of motion, as well as the passenger seat, but not as much. But it's actually pretty comfortable. The steering wheel does adjust as well. If I look up, you have a nice large sunroof. Yeah, I'm glad that I've gotten used to the clutch, I would say. I'm surprised by how the throttle response is. High bump that I didn't see.
What do you think?
It's touchy.
Oh,
not,
yeah,
not like, you know, like too touchy, but I'm like, wow, the car wants to go. That's crazy. I'm not even like, you know, giving it a lot of gas, and it just like, it's very eager. Oh, like here?
Yeah.
Or like after this bend?
I'd say maybe after this bend.
Okay. Wow. Is there?
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay.
You can hit the rev limiter too.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so we are in the XRS, and we are going to do, I won't launch and be mean, but let's see how she is. let's try the gun other way back. Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy how high it revs out.
I know, right?
Should I turn around and then try?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But yeah, dude, you definitely gotta hit the limiter.
I've got to.
Awesome.
Yeah, and like it's crazy how it really cracks like VTEC.
Yeah, it never did. It didn't used to be that aggressive
With
until
the
I put the
intake.
intake on it. It's like, boom.
And it picks up. It really picks up once you like get into that VVTI. Well, yeah, lift mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. What we can see. This thing. I'm really just kind of letting the car talk. Now, because it's about 20 degrees, I'm not going to be as aggressive in the corners as I would be if it was dry and warmer. But still, there's a minimal body roll. It turns in very tight. And the throttle, it's so eager to go. The brakes are pretty responsive too. I like the steering. It has a nice amount of feel to it. It's very playful. And the sound of the engine is excellent. It's so interesting. It really does feel like two different cars. From under 6,000 RPM and over 6,000 RPM, it really picks up even more. That's crazy. And this, my friends, was a look at Toyota's fiery hot hatch of the mid-2000s. It's not like the old FX16 GTS Corollas, but this sure is something else. And I've definitely been more appreciative of the Matrix, especially after today. But thanks to Michael for letting us take a look at his Matrix today. Thank you all for watching this video, and I hope you all enjoyed Matrix content. And thank you all for liking, commenting, and subscribing, and dislike if you want to. But I'll see you guys in the next video. Stay warm. Bye, peeps.